Good afternoon. So let's start. We were talking about Vedic period, and we have seen that the Rig Vedic literature and what is difference between Rig Vedic literature and the later Vedic literature. So look at the major areas that we are going to see today. Rig Vedic period. Main source of Rig Vedic period. Yesterday, one student of yours had asked question that how archaeology is important. I told you that archaeology is the most important source. Archaeological source is the most important source to find anything about the ancient India, and this is a reliable source as well. But at the same time, for Rig Vedic period, we need to rely on the literary sources, because Rig Vedic people were nomadic, so therefore they don't leave so much of the archaeological remains there, and therefore we don't find any archaeological remains of that site, or very small level of the archaeological remains of that site. Okay, so in keeping in that thing in view, we need to understand that how this archaeology is very important source. And then to study the Rig Veda, we have to rely mainly on the literary sources, that is the Rig Vedic sources. So here the source of study of Rig Vedic period is Rig Veda. Rig Veda. So geographical knowledge of the early Aryans. Geographical knowledge of early Aryans. Geographical knowledge of early Aryans. They know about Himalayas. They were having knowledge about the Himalayas. They know about the Himalayas. There was a peak of the Himalaya called Mujabant. Mujabant is a peak of the Himalaya. Mujabant was peak of Himalayas. Okay. So here the Aryans get the plant called Soma plant. They get Soma plant, and Soma plant is a plant, the juice of that plant actually intoxicant, and therefore you can see that they take this is intoxicant drink, and they drink that and thereafter destroy the non-Aryans. So main issue is that they were knowing about the Himalayas. They were knowing about the Himalayas. This is main source, Mujabant. Soma. This is a source of Soma and Mujabant. Okay, so they know about Himalayas. They know about the Ganga and Yamuna as well. Ganga and Yamuna was known to them because Ganga was mentioned once and Yamuna was mentioned thrice in the Rig Veda. But there is no name mentioned as Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra was not known to them. Brahmaputra 0. So that means that beyond Ganga they don't know anything. Aryans, the Rig Vedic Aryans, the early Aryans, they were not knowing anything beyond Ganga. They know Ganga after that in the Rig Vedic period later on, but not beyond Ganga. They know rivers of Kabul. They know rivers of Kabul. rivers of Kabul, like Kubha and Kurram. So do know the rivers of Kabul, like Kubha and Kurram. They know the rivers of Kabul, like Kubha and Kurram. Kubha and Kurram. They know about the rivers of Kabul. And they know about the Vindhyachal. Fourth is Vindhyachal. But not Godavari, but not any river, from peninsular India. From peninsular India. So this is the reason why this is the location of the Rigvedic Aryans. This is location of the Rigvedic Aryans. Okay. So this is a geographical information of the early Aryans. Geographical location of early Aryans. Geographical limitations of early Aryans. So from northern side they know Himalayas. Eastern side the Ganga is once, Yamuna is thrice mentioned in the Rig Veda. There is no mentioning of Brahmaputra. Then we have a Mujaband, Himalayas. Then third, rivers of Kabul, Kubha and Kurram. These are the rivers flowing in Kabul. Right, so Afghanistan they were knowing. And fourth, the Vindhyachal mountain. And beyond Vindhyachal they don't have any information. So this is the reason why we can say that these are the geographical limitations of the Aryans. These are the geographical limitations of the Aryans. So let us talk. I hope all of you keep on writing exactly on the dotted lines, that whatever that I will write on the board, and some things when I become slow in speaking, you please pick the word to write, and thereafter you make the note. You might have received the associated reading materials, or you have an NCERT, so you please go ahead with the writings. How much you will write in the class, wherever you will write, that will be the ultimate benefit to you people. So don't skip the sentence. Social life of Rigvedic period. Social life. Rigvedic period was homogeneous society. Homogeneous society. That is, society was based on the principle of equality. That society was patriarchal. Society was patriarchal. Society was patriarchal. Varna system the Varna system, that is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. The Varna system evolved at the end of the Rigvedic period. Varna system was evolved at the end of the Rig Vedic period. That is in the 10th mandal of the Rig Vedic period. I hope you remember the 10th mandal. Yes. How many hymns are there? 1028. So out of the 1028 hymns, first, second, third, fourth mandalas. So there are 10 mandalas. The 10th is the last mandalas. Right? So the Varna system had evolved at the end of the Rig Vedic period. That is then the 10th mandal of the Rig Veda. That is in the 10th mandal of the Rig Veda. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra, it had evolved in the 10th mandal of the Rig Veda. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. These are the four Varnas. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. These are the four Varnas. It had evolved at the end of the Rig Vedic period. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. These four Varnas had evolved at the end of the Rig Vedic period. But who will become Brahman, who will become Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra? So Varna was ascribed. Varna was achieved. Varna was achieved, not ascribed. So Varna was based on birth. Varna was based on karma. Karma. And not on birth. So Varna was based on karma and not on birth. Based on Varna, karma and not on birth. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So Varna was based on karma and not on birth. Not on birth. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, you can see that it was mainly due to karma. There was inter-Varna mobility. If anybody had born Shudras, can upgrade to Brahmanas. So there was inter-Varna mobility. Inter-Varna mobility. So there was inter-Varna mobility. Condition of women was very respectable. Very respectable. Condition of women was very respectable. Very respectable. So condition of women was very respectable, means the women had right to education, right to higher education, right to education. Right to have property. Property means the property right means if they earn, they can have it. So property right. Right to have property. there was no child marriage, no child marriage, no polygamy, many male marrying many women or women. So this reverse is also true. So no polygamy, no child marriage, no ritual, no sati, no widow remarriage, no widow remarriage. Means though no widowhood, and widow were permitted to have marriage, widow can remarry. Widow can remarry. So no sati, no widow, widow can remarry. So this is how the society was living like a very flexible society. The condition of women determined the level of any society. So it was a very flexible society. It was very flexible society. So no child marriage, no polygamy, no rituals, no idol worship. No idol worship. No untouchability. No untouchability. So this society was considered as a very ideal society. Rig Vedic society was a very ideal society. No sati, no widow, widow can remarry, no idol worship, no untouchability. So this was an ideal society. So that is the reason why there are many who advocated back to Vedas. So there was no social evils as such in Indian society. The social evils was totally absent from this social system. Economy of Rig Vedic period. We are studying the Rig Vedic period 1500 to 1000 BC. This 500 period is called Rig Vedic period because Rig Veda was composed during this period. Okay, so let's talk about the economy of this period. Look, economy was mixed economy in the sense mixed economy. So economy was mixed economy, that is pastoral plus agriculturist. Pastoral plus agriculturist. So economy was mixed economy, that is a pastoral plus agriculturist. Pastoral plus agriculturist. Pastoral economy was dominant economy. Dominant economy was pastoral economy. cow was the main form of economy. Cow was main form of economy. After horse, this is the most important animal. 176 times mentioned in the Rig Veda. So after horse, this is most important animal. Most important animal after horse. 176 times mentioned in the Rig Veda. And you know, if something is very dominant in economic system in the village, so entire terminology means entire life of the Aryans was moving around that cow. So every terms was also derived from cow. So this is the reason why cow was so important, and then all the terminologies that we have, it had all derived from cow. So cow was the most important form of economy. So suppose we take the example war, Gabishti. That is what? A search of cow. Search of cow. Gabishti is search of cow. Gomat, rich man. Gomat was rich man. Gautam Adani, Gomat. Mukesh Ambani, Gomat. Those who have so many cows, they are the rich man. So Gomat, rich man. Gopati is looking very poor, but he keep many Gomat in the pocket. He is a king. Is a king. Godhuli and Gabyuti, these words was used for time and distance. Godhuli is time, distance. Gomat, Gopati, Godhuli, Gabyuti. So these are the words normally used. It's a time and distance. So you can say that how cow was so important in the life of Aryans. How cow was so important in the life of Aryans. So it was a very dominant form of economy. Agriculture. They practice agriculture very less. Agriculture, they practice very less. Wheat and barley, these two crops was very commonly known to them, but very less. Wheat and barley, it was very less in quantity. Wheat was called Godhum. Godhum. And barley was called Yab. Y-A-V-A. Yab. So in cropping system, they only know two crops, that is a wheat and barley, Godhum and Yab. They know only two crops, Godhum and Yab. Right? So cropping system had very advantageous demarcation. So Godhum and Yab. So it was used for food and fodder both. That sometimes we have a very exceptional eating, then you can go to roti and then fodder for the animal as well. So staple diet of the Aryans, क्या खाता था वो? Milk and milk product. Milk and milk product was the staple diet of Aryans. Suppose taking the breakfast, we'll take curd. बहुत भूख लग गया, heavy hungry, they drink ghee, butter. So this is how the milk and milk product was the staple diet of the Aryans. Milk and milk product was the staple diet of the Aryans. Staple diet of the Aryans, milk and milk product. They know the metals, there were plenty of the metals they know, but mainly gold and silver was known to them as a medium of exchange. Gold was called Nisk and silver was called Satman. So Nisk and Satman, these two, was very much known to them. Nisk and Satman was very much known to them. Gold and silver. Nisk and Satman. These were the piece of gold. Piece of gold. These are the piece of gold, Nisk and Satman. Piece of gold. Used for transaction. Used for transaction. Piece of gold used for transaction. But not as a coin. Not as a coin. The piece of gold, this is a Nisk and Satman, but not as a coin. So metals was known to them, and of course copper was used in plenty. Copper was already used by them. Aryans used copper ever since copper came into existence, but they make utensils, they make tools, whatever the ideas they had in mind, they implement the copper. So copper was known to them. So this is the economy of the Aryans. But remember, they don't know iron. And then the political life. Political life. They were the tribals. So they had nomadic life. Nomadic life. Nomadic life. So they keep on moving from one place to another. So they had a nomadic life. They keep on moving from one place to another. So there were family in that tribe. Suppose there are 500 members in the tribe. So there will be family. Family is a universal concept. So the family was the lowest level of the political unit or the social unit. Family. Family. Family was known as Kula. This is one unit, the smallest unit. You need political organization in family also. You need political organization in family also. Because if there is a conflict in the family, who will take care of that conflict? So there will be political organization in family also called Kulpati. 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 Family is a Kula. After Kula, we have Gram. Gram was a warring unit. Warring unit. Whenever there is a war, there is a Gram. Means the fighter will come out from the family to have war with other tribe. There is a condition of war. So Gram. So Gram is Gramini. 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 So there is a war, the fighting unit, Gram is called Gramini. So head of the Kula is Kulpati and head of the Gram is Gramini. These are the small group. Family is the smallest group. Then there are a group of fighters in the tribe. Gramini, head of that fighter group. There are so many groups, but one group is called Gram and the head of that group is called Gramini. So there are battalions. Okay, so we call them Gramini. Head of that battalion is team leader. It's called Gramini. Okay, so Gram to Gramini. This is the head of the team leader. Gram to Gramini. Then subsequently there is a unit of production. Subsequently, there was a unit of production. Unit of production. Vis. Head of that is called Vispati. So in a tribal, there will be pastorals, there will be agriculturist, there will be fisherman, there will be hunter. So all these activities, they were comprised of Vis. Vis means unit of production. Unit of production means either do agriculture, either do pastoralism, hunting, fishing, whatever things they produce for their tribe, for themselves. So they had a unit called Vis, and Vis is headed by Vispati, head of the Vis. This is a head of the commercial thing, Vispati. And entire tribe was under the heading of the king called Jan. Jan means tribe. Jan means tribe, and head of that tribe is Janpati. Janpati. Jan means tribe. Jan means tribe. Right? So head is called Janpati. Head is called Janpati. So Jan is tribe. So these are the things related to the Vedic period. Vedic period. So Vis, Jan, Gram, Kula, these are the things related to Vedic period. There were 3 Vedic assemblies. There are 3 Vedic assemblies. Sabha, Samiti, Bidat. Sabha, Samiti and Bidat. Sabha is assembly of elders. Responsible for law and order. Sabha is assembly of elders responsible for law and order. Sabha is assembly of elders responsible for law and order. Samiti is a unit responsible for election of king. Election of king. Responsible for election of king. Samiti is responsible for election of king. King was elected. So if king was elected, that means there is a republican system. There is republican system. If king get elected, there is a republican system. Is it okay to all of you? Hopefully you got the things at the right time. So it was a republican system. Republican system. And Bidat, redistribution of wealth. Redistribution of wealth. So redistribution of wealth. This is called Bidat. Redistribution of wealth means what? That when one tribe had a war with other tribe, then other tribe will lose some pasture land, some animals. Okay. So these capture of the war to be distributed among the other tribes, their own tribes. So everybody should get equal. So who will monitor that? Bidat. So what is the work of the Bidat? The process of redistribution. Process of redistribution. So Bidat was responsible for redistribution of wealth. Bidat was responsible for redistribution of wealth. Women also take part in Samiti. Right, so women also do take part in Samiti. So this is how Sabha, Samiti and Bidat, all three places women do take part. So finally let us summarize. Kula, then gram in terms of size, bis and then jan. In Rig Veda, there is a word mentioned Rashtra. Rashtra. Rashtra word is there in the Rig Veda. Rig Veda. But what is the meaning of the Rashtra? Aryabrat, Jambu Dweep. This is how we call means Rashtra. So Rashtra is very development. So Kula, Gram, Bis and Jan. Jan means tribe. Bharat was a tribe. We can say Bharat Jan. So look, there was no territory. Tribe keep on moving from one place to another place. Today is in Kolkata, tomorrow Patna, Delhi, Punjab, Pakistan. This is the way from Pakistan, Punjab, Delhi, Andhra Pradesh. They keep on moving because they were the tribes. So tribal structure keep on moving from one place to one place. So after Rig Vedic period, the Aryans will migrate to this region of the eastern side and will come to the southern side as well. So king was ruling over people. The king is not for territory, king was ruling over people. So in Rig Vedic period, there was, the king was ruling over people. So king was ruling over people. So, social, economical and political life of the Aryans. Okay. Then come to the later Vedic period. So, king was ruling over people. So, there are some tribals, important tribals. Important tribals. There were many tribes. So, some of the important tribes, you can say the Bharat tribe, the most powerful tribe. Then we have Anuj, Puruj, Thugbasas, Yadu, Drihu. Second to sixth constitutes the Panch Jana tribe. Panchajan tribe. Anu, Druhu, Yadu, Turbasha, Panchajan tribes. Religion of the early Vedic period. Religion is the early Vedic period. They were also nature worshipper. Also nature worshipper. So religion during the Rig Vedic period was monism or henotheism. Monism or henotheism. Monism or henotheism. The belief that the supreme power is one. Monism or henotheism, that is supreme power is one. Though it can be present in many forms. So, what is monism and henotheism? The supreme power is one, though it can be present in many forms. So, there are three spheres of the Rig Veda divided in, the entire Rig Veda divided in three spheres: celestial, sky, above sky, aerial, in between the sky and the surface of earth, terrestrial, above and on the surface of the earth. So, on the surface of earth, terrestrial, In between sky and earth, aerial, and above the sky, celestial. So there are three spheres. There is a concept called, according to Rig Veda, universe evolved out of the great sacrifice performed by the earliest godfather, Zeus. This is the earliest godfather, and mother is Prithvi, goddess earth. So thereafter, universe had evolved. The earliest godfather Zeus and mother earth, mother Prithvi, then evolved. Zeus and the mother Prithvi, goddess of earth. So Rig Veda divided the entire universe into three spheres: celestial, aerial, and terrestrial. So Rig Veda says that this universe evolved after the great sacrifice performed by the earliest godfather Zeus and the mother Prithvi. This is mentioned in the Rig Veda. This is mentioned in the Rig Veda. So according to Rig Veda, there are 33 types of God. Types divided in three spheres. Three spheres. Sometimes we call 33 koti. Koti, that's not 33 crore. This is wrong. 33 types divided in three spheres. Right? So 33 types of the God divided in three spheres. That is a good idea. So don't presume that there is a 33 crore. Don't presume. 33 crore. We invented zero. We have liberty to put zero. But don't put zeros. Understand this? So 33 types of God. And the highest God is Indra. Indra is the highest God of Aryans. It was around 250 times in the Rig Veda. (250 times in the Rig Veda). Indra. Highest God of the Aryans. Maximum times any God mentioned. So Indra. Indra is called war god. Indra is called rain god. War god and rain god. War god and rain god. Indra was called Purandhar. Breaker of foods. Indra is called Purandar, that is breaker of forts. Breaker of forts. Indra is called Somapeya. That is drinker of Soma. That is drinker of Soma. So Indra drink the intoxicant Soma. Intoxicant drink Soma. Drinker of Soma. Soma come from the Mujavant. I told you this is a place, a peak in the Himalayas where there is a plant, and that plant was squeezed, and then Indra drink that plant, intoxicating feeling, and thereafter destroy the non-Aryans. Destroy the non-Aryans. So this intoxicant drink, Somape. So Indra is the highest god of the Aryans. Second important god is Agni. 200 times mentioned in the Rig Veda. Agni 200 times mentioned in the Rig Veda. Times mentioned in the Rig Veda. Agni is intermediate god, intermediate god between god and human. Agni is intermediate god between god and human. So Agni is intermediate god between god and human. If you want to send anything to Agni, anything to God, just put it in Agni. You just put it in Agni, and then Agni will transport, courier it to the God. If you want yourself to be courier to God, put in the Agni. Even you can also be courier to the God. So Agni is the best courier to the God directly. So this is how you can say the God and human, intermediate God between God and human. In Rig Veda, we know Agni with two names. Atithi, this word is also used for Agni. Pathikrit, this word is also used for Agni. Atithi and Pathikrit, this word is also used for Agni. Atithi means guest, and Pathikrit means maker of the ways, those who make the ways, Agni. So Atithi is guest. So maker of the ways. Third important god is Varun. Varun. Varun is the third important god. You know, Varun is god of ethics. Ethics. God of ethics. So if you want to study the paper 4 GS, ethics, aptitude, morality, then you should worship Varun. So God of ethics. God of ethics. So these are the general words for the God. We have one women goddess also, that is Usha. Women god, the goddess also Usha. Usha mentioned in 25 times in the Rig Veda. Usha is goddess of dawn. Goddess of dawn. Usha is goddess of dawn. Goddess of dawn. So these are the concepts we derive here. Now come to the later Vedic age. You can see that Aryans had moved towards eastward with the formation of the concept which called the Janapadas. Territorial monarchy that came into. So Jan to Janpad, this is the biggest transition you observe from the Rig Vedic period to later Vedic period. In early Vedic period, we have seen that king was ruling over the people. Now in the later Vedic period, we have the concept of territorial monarchy. So obviously, territorial monarchy would not function without bureaucracy, without ministers, without the system of taxation. So now gradually this tribal mode of the living, transhuman migration will turn into settled habitation, and that will formation of a state. So this transition was a very unique transition. But it did not happen all of a sudden, but main theme that had led to the formation of this state was basically the beginning of economy that is based on the agriculturally dominant economy. So we need to understand the social, economical and political life of the later Vedic period like the way we have studied about the Rig Veda, and to understand this. But you need to remember that what are the sources? I told you that we don't have so much of the plausible source for the archaeology in the Rig Vedic period. So we need to rely on Rig Vedic literature, Rig Vedas. But in the later Vedic period, the source is the later Vedic literature, but we have the evidence of archaeology as well. Because the territorial monarchy had started, so now the nomadic and the transhuman migration paved the way for the rise of the village system and the state system. So we have the evidence of tools used by Aryans, and at the same time their habitation system at the various levels was also exposed. So this is how we derive the concept of later Vedic period. So in later Vedic period, 1000 BC to 600 BC. Drastic change in society, economy and politics of this period. The entire Vedic literature was composed during this period. Now the Aryans had moved to the UP, Bihar and Bengal. If you look at the movement of the Aryans, so early Aryans had this type of the development, mostly Irani, but now in the later Vedic period, there was a southern expansion and as well as the eastward expansion of the Aryans. Now the Aryans started moving eastward. Started moving eastward and southward. Eastward and southward. This area became the very important area for them. So now the Aryans started moving eastward and southward. So let's talk about the later Vedic period, society. Society. Thousand BC to 600 BC. Thousand BC to 600 BC. Society. Now society became complex with rigidity of Varna system. Rigidity of Varna system. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudraj. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudraj. Now the Varna system became rigid, means inter-Varna mobility was restricted. You born Brahmana, you die Brahmana. So Varna was described on the basis of birth. Varna was described on the basis of birth, not on the karma, not on the karma. Varna was described on the basis of birth. If you born Brahmanas, you will die Brahmanas. So Varna was described on the basis of birth and not on karma. Varna was described on the basis of birth and not on karma. So if you die Brahmanas, if you born Brahmanas, then you die Brahmanas. So burn was ascribed, not achieved, burn system. But there was supremacy of the Brahmanas. Supremacy of Brahmanas. There was supremacy of Brahmanas. Supremacy of Brahmanas. There was growing rituals. Growing rituals. There was growing rituals. Complexities of the rituals. Concept of dan and dakshina had developed. Complexities of the rituals. Concept of dan and dakshina had developed. So Brahmanas had dominated the entire life of the society. Dominated the entire life of the society. Brahmanas was on the very dominant conditions. Very dominant conditions. But Kshatriya was the ruling class. Kshatriya was the ruling class. In the social life, condition of women had decreased. Condition of women had declined. Condition of women had declined. We have the evidence of child marriage. Polygamy. We have the evidence of child marriage, polygamy. There was concept of untouchability. Untouchability. Child marriage, polygamy, there is a concept of untouchability. Women lost the property right. There was system of dowry. There was system of bride price. Bride price. So lots of things you can see looking at this place that developing, which was not there in the early Vedic period. So bride price, polygamy, these are the fundamental things had started growing during this period. So bride price. economy of this period. Economy. Economy. Again the same formula, that economy of this period, again the same formula, that economy was a mixed economy. Economy was mixed economy. Economy was mixed economy, with dominant economy was agriculture. Agriculture was dominant economy. Pastoral was there, but very less. Agriculture was dominant economy. Agriculture was dominant economy. We have the new crop, rice, pulses, wild seeds. Variety of the crops had developed. Rice was a newly introduced crop. Rice was called brihi. The word for the rice is brihi. You know, Eastern India is good for the rice cultivation. So brihi. Rice was called brihi. In Yajurveda, there are mentioning of so many crops and agricultural operations. So many crops and agricultural operations. Right, so brihi. In Yajurveda, we have introduction of many agricultural operations and agricultural tools. Agricultural tools. So many agricultural operations and agricultural tools in Yajurveda. Yajurveda had all these descriptions. Okay, then come to the polity of political system of the later Vedic period. So later Vedic period was known for territorial monarchy. Let me describe first all these things, then I will come back to you. Right, so let me describe the first. I will come with this PPT about the Mahabharata. So political life of the later Vedic period. There was beginning of territorial monarchy. There was beginning of territorial monarchy. Beginning of territorial monarchy. Territory is important. Territory is important. So, we can see that Puru tribe plus Bharat tribe, they formed Kuru Mahajanpad. That they formed Kuru Janpad. Yadu, Turbasha, Anas, these tribes formed Panchal. Panchal. Panchal Janpad. So Kuru and Panchal, these two Janpad had came into existence. Kuru and Panchal, these two Janpad came into existence. These are the earliest territorial monarchy. These are earliest territorial monarchy. Kuru and Panchal, these are the earliest territorial monarchy. So Kuru means Kaurav and Pandav. Panchal means Draupadi. Draupadi. So Kaurav and Pandav and Draupadi. Kaurav and Pandav, at the same time Draupadi, belongs to this period. Look at the geographical location. Of Kuru and Panchal. This is Vindhyachal mountain. Thereafter you move to the southern India, where the Bidharv. So Kuru and Panchal is the earliest. Kuru, the Kurukshetra, Haryana, western UP, Punjab, Madhya, Gandhar. That is coming to the Pakistan area of Gandhar, touching Afghanistan, Cambodia. This is how the big India was. So Kuru and Panchal, this is the earliest Mahajanpad. And after that we have the Koshal, Magad, Ang, Bideh. So this is the other Mahajanpad. So we will see about the Supru tribe and the Bharat tribe from the Kuru. So there was bureaucracy. If there is a territorial monarchy, there will be a ministers. Ministers were called Ratnin, who helped the king. Ministers to help the king. Tax collection also became important. In this period, tax collection also became important. There were two important taxes collected during this period. Bhag and Bali. Bhag and Bali. Bhag was king's share in produce. King's share in produce. King's share in produce. And Bali was voluntary offering. Voluntary offering. So Bhag and Bali. King's share in produce and Bali was voluntary offering. And Bhag and Bali was given. Voluntary offering means, you understand, the voluntary offering refers to what? That is milk, fruits, vegetable. These are the things regularly you have to give it to the king. You have to supply the king regularly. Fruits, vegetable, all these things you have to supply regularly to the king. So regularly to the king. Fruits, vegetable and the milk was regularly, and Bhag was king's share in produce. So Bhag, Bali and So ministers were there. So Battle of Mahabharata was fought around 956 BC. This is in Kurukshetra, land of the Kuru, whose capital was Hastinapur. So perhaps we can calculate that the Battle of Mahabharata was fought in later Vedic period. This is calculation that we can make. So Battle of Mahabharata was fought around 956 BC. In Kurukshetra, land of Kuruj, whose capital was Hastinapur. So in this phase, office of the king became autocratic. Office of the king became autocratic. There was a divine origin of kingship. So now the king became equal to divine. So divine origin of kingship. So there were 12 ministers in this period. I will give you this PPT to you people. So there were 12 ministers in this period helping the king, and at the same time the Mahabharata had a very strong Mahabharata, otherwise called Jai Samhita, Satharsa, Pancham Ved was perhaps recorded during this time. So initially there was only 10,000 verses, then later on it became 1 lakh verses, but finally it was composed by Ved Vyas. Ved Vyas. I will give you this PPT, then you read at home. So the political condition was deeply associated with the rise of a Janpad system, and within the formation of Janpad there was a massive war in the land of the Kuru between the Pandav and the Kaurav. All belongs to the Kuru dynasty, whose capital was Hastinapur. So this was a fratricidal war between two brothers for the succession. So Bharat tribe and the Pru tribe became the first to form the Janpad, and the first Janpad had a bitter war, that is called Mahabharata war. However, the other states also involved in this war, side states. When you have a world war, many countries also started dancing in between, Hungary, Yugoslavia, like that. So therefore, there were many states were also dancing in between, but main fight was between Kaurav and Pandav. So main fight was between Kaurav and Pandav. So this was the entire history of the social, economic and political life of the Vedic period. Political life of the Vedic period. Okay, so Vedic literature we have discussed. Vedic literature, I told you that there are Ved, Brahman, Aranyak, Upanishad. Ved, Brahman, Aranyak and Upanishad. So this is the oldest writing in the Sanskrit literature. Ved. So we have Samved, Yajurved, Atharved. Most of the hymns from the Rig Veda came from, that total number is 1028. In Rig Veda, India was described as Jambu Dweep and Bharatvarsh. Bharatvarsh. So these two words are there in the Rig Veda. Jambu Dweep and Bharatvarsh, these two words are there in the Rig Veda. Samveda is origin of Indian music. Yajurveda is origin of rituals. And Atharveda is a book of Tantra, Mantra, sorcery, witchcraft, Ayurveda, mathematics, geometry, Jyotish. So there is everything related to that Rig Veda. So out of the four Vedas, Rig Veda, Samved, Yajurved, Atharved. These are the facts. I will give this PPT to you people to read for further reading, but simply understanding that, for simple understanding that Rig Veda, Samveda, Atharved and Yajurved. So out of the four Vedas, Rig Veda, originally having 17 hymns, 11 hymns was added later, so it became 1028 hymns. 1028 hymns. This is important for historical information of the Aryans. Historical information of Aryans. Historical information of Aryans. There are 1028 hymns, but these hymns are important for historical information of Aryans. I told you the name Bharatvarsh, Jambu Dweep, these are the words mentioned in the Rig Veda. So there was concept of geopolitical unity. There are 10 mandalas in Rig Veda. Samved was origin of Indian music. Origin of Indian music. Then Yajurved is origin of rituals, book of rituals. Atharved we have the herbs, medicine, tantra mantra. So these are the things. So Rigved, Samved, Yajurved, Atharved. The priest related to Rigveda was Hotra. Hotra. Samved, Udgata. Yajurved, Advaryu. Atharved, Brahma. So Hota, Udgata, Advaryu, Brahma. So they are the priests related to each Vedas. Rigved, Samved, Yajurved and Atharved. So there are priests related to each Vedas. Hota, Udgata, Advaryu and Brahma. They are the priests related to each Vedas. Then Brahmanas 108, Upanishad 108, Aranyak are the text related to the forest life. Right? So Ved, Brahman, Aranyak, Upanishad. Vedas are 4, Brahmanas 108, Aranyak and Upanishads are 108. Smritis. I will give you today only. I will send this all PPT to people so that you can remember some of the vital facts related to Vedic period. Some of the vital facts related to Vedic period. So now we are moving into the post-Vedic period. Right? So hopefully some of the facts you already noted down, and rest of the things I will give you in the format of PPT so that you can read. Some important facts of later Vedic period you note down. Some important facts of later Vedic period, which would be useful for your examination. Some important facts like there are 8 types of marriage. There were 16 sanskar rituals. 5 yajna daily. These are there in the later Vedic period. Societal concept, 5 yajna daily, 16 sanskars. 16 sanskars. For Kshatriya, there was rituals. Ashwamedh Yajna. Rajasuya Yajna. Vajpayee Yajna. So Ashwamedh, Rajasuya and Vajpayee. Vajpayee Yajna. Ashwamedh Yajna was for the horse sacrifice. Horse sacrifice. This is for Chakrabarti ideas. Chakrabarti ideas. This is for Chakrabarti ideas. That is imperial character. Imperial character. Chakrabarti ideas. This is for imperial character. Imperial character. Rajasuya Yajna, that is a yajna to perform the energy, to bestow the energy of the king. Energy of the king. The old king will become young because of the Rajasuya Yajna. And Vajpayee Yajna was a chariot race. In that race, king also participated. Chariot race, that king also participated. Chariot race. That race also participated, and in that race, match was fixed. The king should win. King should win the race. King should win the race. The match is fixed. So this is called chariot race. King should win the race. So there are 3 yajna was prescribed in Kshatriyas. These all are described in the Yajurveda. Yajurveda. There are 4 ashramas. 4 ashramas. there are 4 ashramas. Brahmacharya, Grihasth, Banprasth and Sannyas. So there are 4 ashramas in the later Vedic period. Brahmacharya, when you are a student, you are studying till Vedas, then you got married, you entered in the Grihastha life. After a certain age, after you have a grandsons and others, you live in the forest, and thereafter you become sannyasi. So that is for all varnas. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra all had to follow these 4 classifications. And it is for all varnas. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudras. For all the varnas, these are the issues. So we will continue with this post-Vedic period, and in which we have the rise of Buddha and Jaina. Rise of Buddha and Jaina. Buddhism and Jainism, that is 6th century BC. The religious reformation, the challenge to the Brahminical orthodoxy, all will come. Then we have age of Mahajanpad. Age of Mahajanpad. Second urbanization. These are the all features of the post-Vedic period. So how the Buddha and Jaina give the solution to the entire world about those who are suffering, the freedom from suffering, freedom from rebirth, why human born again and again to suffer. These are the all. This is the first social revolution that you can watch in the 4th century BC. Okay, so that's all for the day. Whether you have any question or not, just let me know. And then we will see you tomorrow, same time. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow.